RevTrack's release management workbench streamlines SAP release processes by grouping transports into organized releases, enabling teams to manage large volumes of change with clarity and control. The release management workbench provides real-time visibility into release readiness, automates sequencing and conflict detection, and supports drag and drop assignment of changes. Built-in safety checks ensure dependencies and object versions are aligned, reducing production risks. This approach accelerates SAP delivery, minimizes errors, and allows teams to deploy with confidence while maintaining system stability. In this demonstration, we're going to collate 5 RevTrack requests into a single release. We will demonstrate some of RevTrack's safety checks before providing the appropriate approvals and conducting final testing, and finally migrating all changes to production with the single click of a button. Here, we have 5 RevTrack requests that are all in the status of ready for production deployment. Using RevTrack's release management workbench, we're going to deploy all these changes in a single unit of work using a newly created release. So let's create this by selecting support and creating the release. A release in RevTrack is a special type of request that allows other RevTrack requests to be included within it. This approach helps ensure that complex deployments involving multiple changes are streamlined and managed as a single unit, reducing the likelihood of production incidents. We're going to call this release FE25 Finance Enhancement Release. After hitting save, we can see that we've created a new RevTrack request number 2796. This release request, which will soon group our 5 changes together, will undergo a CAB approval, testing, and production migration using a single unit of work. By grouping related changes together, RevTrack allows you to plan and schedule releases more effectively, ensuring changes reach production faster without compromising quality. Before we proceed, we can see that the Technical tab contains no transports, the References tab no links, and the Planning tab no requests. Let's hit Manage Releases and be taken to the Release Management Workbench. Here, we can hit Edit and drag and drop our 5 RevTrack requests into this new release. This drag and drop interface simplifies the bundling of changes, saving time and reducing administrative effort for release managers. After hitting save, we can confirm our changes and then navigate back to release 2796. Let's now revisit the Planning tab and see all 5 changes as part of this release. This consolidated view of all changes within a release improves collaboration across teams and provides greater visibility into the scope of what's being deployed. Heading to the Technical tab, we can now see all the transports that are associated with each of these requests, which will then be deployed in one body of work. Automatically tracking all associated transports reduces the risk of missing critical components during deployment. We can also head to the References tab to see links to the individual changes if we'd like to investigate further. Now, solely for the purpose of demonstrating some of our safety checks, I'm going to make a change to this release. I'm going to remove 2 of the changes with the intention of triggering some errors and showcasing some of the ad hoc safety checks within RevTrack. Here, we'll be proactively detecting issues before they reach production, reducing the likelihood of costly downtime. The first change that I removed is Tax Update 1 FE25, which is version 1 of the Tax Update change and would be required to be deployed before Tax Update 2. Back in our release, if we were to trigger a production deployment without any of RevTrack safety checks in place, we would be moving Tax Update 2 only, with Tax Update 1 remaining in the quality system. This is the instance of an overtake. Of course, at the point of deployment, RevTrack wouldn't let this happen, but it's here we can also run an ad hoc overtake and overwrite protection system check, better known as OOPS. Here, we can perform a check before we even think about deploying the change, in the form of a look before you leap mindset. Upon running an OOPS check, we can see that we would encounter an overtake if we were to trigger a migration. In this instance, our Tax Update 2 would deploy before Tax Update 1, which would increase the risk of an eventual downgrade and potential production downtime. So let's avoid all of this and make the required changes in order to experience a successful migration. Back in the Release Management Workbench, I'll re-add the Tax Update 1 change and hit save. RevTrack automatically sequences transports in the correct order, eliminating manual errors and ensuring system stability. We can confirm this by running the OOPS check again, and this time see that we experience no errors. The second change I removed was our change containing the table Z Budget Tab 1. In this example, let's imagine our release would migrate a program that declares this table before the actual table is deployed to production. If we were to import this, it would experience a return code 8 because the program can't generate without the table. Once again, RevTrack would flag this at the point of deployment. However, we can check for this dependency at any time thanks to RevTrack's Peripheral Object Dependency System, or PODS. Running this check flags that the table is missing in the selection and cannot be found in EP1, and as a result, we would encounter a dependency error. Back in the Release Management Workbench, we can add the change containing the table back into our release, hit save, and now back in the release request, trigger our ad hoc pods check once again, and see that all our required tables and settings are in this release. Now that we've completed all of our checks and have observed that this release is safe, we can proceed with the deployment. The first status in our workflow is to obtain approval from the Change Advisory Board for this deployment. The Release Management Workbench simplifies approvals by allowing the CAB to sign off on a single release rather than the individual changes, reducing administrative overhead and accelerating time to production. As the changes within the release are all marked ready for production deployment, this approval can be done promptly and accurately. We can also implement any testing steps which have to be completed before migrating this release, such as regression testing. Once our approvals have been gathered and our testing has been complete, we're ready to migrate this release to production. This will migrate all of the transports within the changes within this release in a single workload. Here, I can confirm that I'm the manager, confirm the post-approval actions that will happen once we approve this change, run some final safety checks, and sign and approve the migration of this release to production. As this release contains a number of changes and transports, it may take some time to migrate to production. So after hitting refresh, we can see that about half the changes have a green status indicator, meaning they've been successfully deployed, and about half in blue, meaning they're still in progress. After a short while, hitting refresh again, we can see that all the transports are in the production system and our release is now complete. Heading to the Planning tab, we can see that all the individual changes are also moved to the status of complete using this single workload. We can take a moment to observe the Workflows tab and see all the steps for this release, including the checks and approvals collated before deployment. The Workflow tab gives a complete audit trail of approvals, checks, and actions, ensuring compliance and simplifying post-deployment reviews. Finally, we can see that this release has been successfully complete with all the records associated in a single view. RevTrack's Release Management Workbench simplifies the planning and deployment of SAP releases, grouping changes and automating sequencing to reduce risks and increase delivery speed. To learn more about RevTrack's Release Management Workbench, visit us at revtrack.com.